What often happened, and this is still what you see in customer success, is we do not document what is actually working and what is not working. And that is the basic step really of creating a framework. Because what you do here is you just write down what actually works and what doesn't work. And from that you learn. So, and if you don't do it, you potentially increase the time of scaling and you're not efficient as much as you want to be. So a framework, I think, is a great way. It's a signature almost to go from the pain points that you want to solve to the payoff that you want to deliver, or from the challenges you want to tackle to the outcome that you want to focus on. So it's almost like a bridge. And framework for me means just having something in place that works, that showcases what doesn't work, but most importantly, something that you can teach and give to other people. We had a few before recording, sorry.
Thomas had some tequilas just saying out there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to helping those transitioning into customer success and early career customer success managers. I'm your host, Byron Toruño, a customer success manager, and just like you, I'm still learning about this amazing world of customer success. And today we have a really interesting topic with a guest that I have known now for a couple of months. We have been working together a lot. Such a smart person, such a kind and genuine person as well, super smart. But then before we actually go deeper into who am I talking about, please go and visit our new website. And there at the upper left side of your screen, you will see a small button, red one, just in case you don't see it, it's going to be red, really red, that it says special offers. You go to cstalkspodcast.com. Don't worry, the link is going to be in the description. There you will find a list of professionals who are experts in different areas, coaching, mentorship, or we also have to discuss the difference between coaching and mentorship, but there are people who give different services, also going beyond, people that can help you increase the possibilities to find a job and more. And our guest today is also part of the list. So I'm super honored to have him here with us today. So remember, cstalkspodcast.com, special offers. The only requirement I ask was for it to be accessible as much a cost as possible when it comes to pricing for all of you. So let me know how that goes, fill out the form. And now let's jump into today's podcast, today's episode. Today we have with us Thomas. We have with us a special, amazing guest. But now, Thomas, just give me a second because I always wanted to ask about your last name. So, because I know here in Germany there's a bakery that has your same last name. Are you related to them? Voigt?
Well, so this is interesting. In the northern part of Germany, you would say Vogt. So listen, Vogt is in northern part. In southern part, you would say Voigt. In France, you would say Voix, and in English, you say Voigt. So 4 different ways of explaining it. So if you want to stick to the English, it's Voigt, like the void, like the gap.
I like the French version though.
Wow. Yeah, I
Wow.
like it too. Yeah, it's nice. It's like boom.
Yeah, it sounds sexy. Like it. Well, let me
Yeah.
pronounce it with my Latin way. Thomas Voigt. Voigt. And Thomas, so basically, to make the official introduction, you are the founder of the CS Academy, where you offer services specifically for startups and scale up companies. And a significant part of your work involves mentoring CS leaders. How long have you been doing customer success now? I'm really curious. How long have you been out there now?
Well, before we start in, Baron, did you know that this is our second encounter? So thank you very much for having me the second time on your show. I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, well, I started in 2000, in around 2000 as a client service executive at Nielsen. It was not really named customer success, but it was like having a dedicated team or persons, working for a client and making sure this client is being looked after, it's been renewed, but also is expanded. So quite back, but I think I went into like the SaaS industry back in 2019. So that's now over 6 years, and became the VP of Customer Success and Account Management at GWI, a market research company. Grew a team, and we had an amazing time because we just got fresh fundings. We were able to grow and to expand, and it was just amazing. I was looking after tech companies and media companies outside the US with my team, and it was
Mm,
just fun. It was fantastic. It was a great way of, learning and playing, and yeah. So, and here we are now. Now I'm running the CS Academy, and as you said, part of my CS Academy, what the name says, is helping folks to thrive in post sales.
yeah.
There's customer success and there's account management, and there's this whatever old discussion about what is what, and we need to become commercial. So I might just refer to post sales because this is what it potentially is. Yeah, and I really love, and this is what I found out, I love to support folks and to
Mm,
just transfer and give back, and then just offering mentor services and coaching services. And as you know, you mentioned the special discounts. I'm very glad, thank you very much, that I could be part of your offering. And yeah, and if people want to check it out on your website, please feel free to just yeah, see it and get in contact with me if you have any questions about the services.
I have experienced it myself, so that's why I'm super happy that you were accepted this. Like for me, it's also an honor to be able to participate with you on this because I know that people will get receive a lot of value, and also like the other people in the list, they're also amazing. So each one is from people that I know and trust myself, and that I also have worked with. So it's amazing, and it's true, completely true. This is the second time, and we were because the first one was about your predictions of 2025, and I was going towards that direction for 2026, but I said, I also want to talk about frameworks with you, and I'm really curious to know what framework you will bring today because our episode will be focusing on what's the importance of frameworks and why should we actually as individual collaborators actually have a framework. And we touch on something similar on one of the episodes with Andrea. By the way, everyone, you will also find the link to that episode here. And she brought the spiced method designed by Winning by Design, and it's basically a framework that allows people to better diagnose the prospects. But in that case, we use a real life example where we can use the spice method to identify expansion. So like in my case with the product that I work right now, there are two products with the platform, and maybe the customer is not ready and using the number one really well. Now it's time for them to level up. So with the spice method, it's able by asking questions to move the needle, basically with their own answers to them for them to see the need there, right? So the link to all the video and the definition of the spice method is going to be in the description as well. But then that I use it myself, and I even put in ChatGPT like when I prepare like. I have this customer with these characteristics. These are the possible expansion. Please tell me what questions to ask using the spice method, and I modified a little bit, and has been really helpful. For you, why are frameworks so important, Thomas? Why is that
Yeah,
so important that we even come here to record an episode?
yeah. So framework sounds a bit stiff, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oof, it's a bit like going back to school and learning something, another methodology. And we've got so many. So you mentioned spies. There's so many outside there, but really we don't have any framework. that is uniquely applicable in customer success. So why do we do this? So when I started out, in particular at GWI, we learned on the flight on how to deal with things, in particular when you scale up. And this is part of the game, isn't it? Because you haven't figured it out. You are about to grow. You figure things out. They don't work. Then you continue on your journey. You have failures. You have little wins. What often happened, and this is still what you see in customer success, is we do not document what is actually working and what is not working. And that is the basic step really of creating a framework. Because what you do here is you just write down what actually works and what doesn't work. And from that you learn. So, and if you don't do it, you potentially increase the time of scaling and you're not efficient as much as you want to be. So a framework, I think, is a great way. It's a signature almost to go from the pain points that you want to solve to the payoff that you want to deliver, or from the challenges you want to tackle to the outcome that you want to focus on. So it's almost like a bridge. And framework for me means just having something in place that works, that showcases what doesn't work, but most importantly, something that you can teach and give to other people. Because if you do that, you scale much quicker. And this is the exercise reason, right? So you want to make sure you are more efficient and you want to have information available that can be followed along and it is easy to follow along and actually makes sense. And this is why I created my own framework that I now use in my consultancy work, but also when I go to folks with having mentoring session and say, like, listen, this is how I see customer success. And if you look at this, I feel customer success and how we should operate in post-sales makes much more sense because we know what the basics are. Because if we don't get them right, we will not be able to have a great GRR, for example. We will have a high churn rate. We will not be able to talk comfortably about forecasting information. And of course, we will not be able to easily tell other people what is the secret source of our expansion strategy. It all starts really with a framework and just following along this framework to be much more successful. And this is why I believe we all need this in post-sales.
So what I hear is that a framework, like this is my translation or perspective of what I just heard, is that framework is the repeatable structure of steps that once documented and have seen the results constantly. Because like you said, sometimes we don't write down what works, but we do things that work. It's just that we don't know it. So once we write it down, we see that they work, we add a beautiful name to it, then that means that that will be a framework that actually works and can scale. Because it's just that it's, instead of going to different directions, we're putting everything in order. Am I right?
That's correct. And it should be easy, should have maybe 3 to 5 steps maximum. So people can remember it. Like you can remember spice, you can remember medic. Okay, it's a bit longer, but you can still remember it, right? So these are all frameworks. My framework has just 3 letters, ACE, ACE, and I think ACE is a word in English that you can remember as well. So from playing cards, yeah.
Ah, smart. Let's talk about your framework.
Hmm.
First of all, how did that came to your brain? Let's say that you woke up one day, you had a dream, and you started creating it, or what is the story about your framework?
Yeah,
Was there any issues that you had before that you had to actually solve, and then that's how it appeared?
yeah. It's purely been built out of praxis and discovering what worked and what didn't. It's not made up like a theory. It's just built up really from issues that my team and we needed to solve, or when I started with my consulting, which I saw. And it is, I mean, ACE, just let me explain this very quickly. So ACE stands for A for activating value. It's very important to speak about the activation part and not only value realizing. Then the C stands for cultivating relationships. And that's quite important when we talk about retention. And the E stands for expanding revenue. It's very simple. So ACE. So why is that important? And how did it really come together? So the activating value. So think about first principles. When you go and have a handover from, your sales friends, and you have a new client, and now you need to start with the onboarding process. What you really want, first principle, is to maximize or to reduce the time to first value to the max. So that means you really want to shorten the time that people find your product or your service is valuable, right? Because what you want is you want to showcase them the aha moment. And it's actually quite similar in any relationship building. But this is basically the thing. So, and there are some frameworks that you need to, have at least 90 days, or you focus on the first 90 days to realize value. I think you need to activate value in the first 30 days after handover. So, and why is that so important? Because you need to understand what does it mean to really find this aha moment. And you do this by really honing into what does value mean for your person that you're talking to. And in this moment, you're not just talking to a client name or a persona, you're talking to Mr. XYZ or Mrs. MYZ or whatsoever. And often it's not a problem that they want to solve in their business. It's a problem that is really relatable to their personal life. What people want is, and this is why they buy services, it's because they want to save time. They want to have more time available. They want to structure their workflow, which makes it easier for them. They want an easier time at work, and they want potentially also make more money, for themselves. So they want easier things. So think about Oki, for example. It's a great, lovely product because when people use it in your industry, and you know this, what it is they want to just have a cool, easy to use, intuitive tool where they can very quickly and easily upsell, features or, whatever features, that hotel rooms or hotels can offer to their guests. They also want to make quicker a dollar for themselves. So get to this comms plus a little bit faster. So that's in for them. So the faster they really go and understand what Oki and the platform does to them, the better it is for you. And that's so important. If you don't realize that value and activate this value, then you will have very difficult times to actually do term prevention. And we don't need to talk about expansion at all.
Yeah. Love that. Love that because that's also the small outcomes or the small motivations that you give into the customers into, hey, like if this is the minimum that you can actually receive, imagine by doing AYC. Like we know your goal is going to the moon. Well, let's first start small. Let's see the values because it depends on the product, of course. It does sometimes it takes more people to be involved. It takes some specific personas to also be involved, and that's a lot of activating that value into. If this is what we can do, imagine taking it beyond. But I do find here a potential challenge on the first letter, which is activating value, Thomas. And is that maybe we as CSMs, we do not own the onboarding side of things. So in a customer journey, if they go through sales, they sign the contract, they go through our team members, the onboarding team, and then there's a handoff to us. I think that's get hard for us to show those aha moments during onboarding, doing that change management that is so crucial. How can we solve this issue?
That's a good point that you mentioned that because onboarding is not always part of the CS process. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But what you can do is, I think it's about the mindset, that you want to have as a CSM. So if you work as a CSM and you have regular check-ins and you want to make sure folks are still working on this, make sure you understand what really drives their motivation to use the product. So are they using it, for example, right? So this is what you could look at. So are they using the product? Which frequency are they using it? And if you see, like, for example, there is an interesting pattern, so they use this here and then, but not in the way of like you anticipated. These are all great signals for you to just jump in and ask questions and again find out the aha moment for them. So maybe you haven't really, or onboarding hasn't realized the aha moment. So it's actually up to you to do this because they haven't had this, because they didn't find the feature that is so valuable to them because nobody showed them because it was just a regular onboarding session. It always depends. So what it means is at the end of the day, it's being sensitive to the person in front of you when it comes to showcasing then what really brings the value to them personally and not only to the company. And I think that's a different conversation as well, right? So you're not talking about like something like a product or a service. Like you're talking about how can I personally help you to use this to personally get something out of that. And that's a different level. And you see, this is the first step where you build up the trust as well. So we're talking a lot about psychology here already, that's been needed in this framework to just move the needle. Because otherwise, you just come in, you've got your plan, you want to check in, you want to see you ask the question, why is the usage down? And you see people are not responding to you because you don't address their real issues. Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they don't know what to do. Maybe nobody explained it in an appropriate way to them, how to use it, appropriately. So this is the chance where you can deep dive into it and start to build up the trust.
By asking questions?
Of course. And that's also the second part of the framework, which is the cultivation part. If you think about retention, we always think like, okay, we look at the signals and we believe, oh, if the signals are great, look at NPS, right? Everyone loved NPS 10 years ago. Now we love CSAT or whatever.
There's a hate and love there.
Yeah, it is. Personally, although I worked in market research, I don't think that claimed data, like claimed information about how you like things, are a good proxy for any retention going forward, because people can just lie or just not interested in filling out, the survey result. So that could be a problem. You look at the usage. It is just a signal. You don't really get into the nitty-gritty bit of why people might churn and why not. This is why the C comes in here. It's about cultivating a relationship. And that's all about, for me, to start with self-awareness and making sure you are controlling how you go and speak with other people. So do not go into conversations being stressed out. Make sure you're listening. Make sure you control how you give the other person a break. You listen properly. You have pauses. You reflect back on this. This
Being
is
human.
also important.
Being human,
That's
having
it.
empathy.
Yes. But Baron, I know it almost sounds like we're discussing obvious stuff, right? But we don't,
It's
because
not.
this is, as you know, this is the key problem, because you believe you need to follow a certain way of whatever. You need to get a lot of calls done per day. You've got a lot of fires to fight. And at some point you get into this repetitive stuff of just, providing the client with the newest features list or whatsoever, but you forget the other person in front of you. And so you forget actually what it meant to be a customer success person in the first instance. So this framework, and this is why it's not rocket science, it's just a shakeup of, hey guys, let's focus on what really matters. Because if you don't do this, the cultivation aspect and building up these relationships appropriately, asking them and knowing, for example, when their birthday is, or these kind of things, because then you can send something or send some, eventually an article about their products that you were coming across or a competitor.
Maybe
That's all
success stories.
important. Yeah, all that. And if you don't do this, then of course it's difficult to have this culture that you want to build with with your customers, right? And then it is difficult to to talk about the retention. So the more you do this, the more you create an effortless win-win situation that's being fueled by honest and clear communication, and focus on the value that you deliver, the better. And that's basically what you need to do ideally, and AI can help in so many cases. Success stories. I mean, set up alerts or set up agents. Put in the names of your biggest customers that you want to super serve, where you want to have give a high glove service, and it will spit it all out and rise to the emails or the drafts, and you just need to check it. So these days, it's all possible to deliver this kind of service.
Yeah, but in ideal scenario, one will have the time to speak to all of the customers. And I feel that nowadays is like do more and do more, right? So the challenge I find here is having a big portfolio of customers. Sometimes it's hard to cultivate that one-on-one relationship because being in a call is two human beings on the same time having those 30, 45, 15, or 1 hour minutes only on that, forgetting the emails, forgetting, whatever happening in the world, like focus on that. And that's a lot of energy consuming. And not all of us will have the luxury of always having that one-on-one communication if you have a lot, like a portfolio of customers. So like building relationships on a scale can be also really hard.
Ken, I completely agree with you. And this is why, digital CS is becoming more and more popular. I think you can do a lot through automation. Going forward, you can do a lot with AI, and this world is going better. What I'm saying is, and of course, you're not serving every client the same way because you do a proper segmentation before you do this, and you've got your clients that you need to focus on because these are the most valuable ones and you've identified those. So let's assume that. And let's assume you've got your clients. But what I'm saying is the time that you speak to your client, make it meaningful. Don't just tell them stuff that is not interesting for them. So the time is the same. It's about the content that you need to tell them, the way of how you engage with them. This is what I mean. Okay. And this need to change. It's the mindset on being a bit more sensitive to who's talking to you at the moment.
I
It's
think
not
even
about doing more.
I think even during the emails, like when we're writing emails, we can maybe also start cultivating that relationship. Also asking like, what will be the best way that we can work together? Maybe you're not have time to have a call on a monthly basis. Would it be emails? Yes. Okay. Let me create some quick videos. I think that that's also part of, oh, they are making it easy for me.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you normally do at the beginning, and this for me is part of onboarding, checking out how people would like to be treated, how they would like to communicate, and then you will find it out. And then you see, oh, he did this. Oh, I like this. Oh, it's all these little bits. So, and eventually, maybe at some point, you don't need so many meetings anymore because you've got already to the point where you build up the trust and things are rolling because you know what they want. They've found already everything because they've discovered it with you, the features that are really important for them. They are safe. They feel safe with you as a supplier, and everything is going smoothly. So then you could say, okay, great, I've got this. Of course, you monitor this. You've got your markers, mostly through usage, or when you analyze your calls and afterwards. But generally, I think this is the way of how you should go about this.
And so segmentation, of course, like segmentation is always key because then that way we can deliver strategically the energy and the time to a set of customers that will deliver us an outcome because us as a company, us as customer success managers, and in return, we will give them something. But then I'm also hearing that we can create that relationship by other methods, maybe empathy by asking the question of how can we enable you the best? Like we are here to help you. Now, I want to talk before we go to the E, which is
Mhm.
expanding revenue.
Yeah.
Let's say we are writing that email, we are in that call. I feel that rewarding can make a big difference here, and sometimes we forget of celebrating small wins, and I think that's also a big part of. I don't know if I'm going too much ahead, but in an ideal scenario, celebrating wins by showing, okay, your team reached this, like maybe appearing something in the platform that says, hey, congratulations, or sending a something. Would there be something else before besides rewarding that you will suggest us to always have as an ace under our sleeve? Because what I tend to do during the calls is that I hear them and I try to, if they give a really good idea, oh, I see how you are an outside thinker. So I'm adding a label to them that they didn't know they have, but that will also influence how motivated they are when they are actually thinking outside of the box that no one told them before. So is there any other secret that you can give us?
It's I think it's discovering what they like, how they like to
Ooh.
work. Yeah. And you can ask a lot of questions at the beginning, and then you see what's resonating and what not. I mean, and just do brave things. I liked always to just send, when I work, for example, it's a different example, but when I work, for example, as a coach or as a mentor, what I make sure to make my coaching sessions really meaningful is to send book recommendations, for example, where I say, like, go to this book and this is really helpful because it's a different perspective and people read it. And with that, these book recommendations, when they read this experience gets bigger and broader. You understand the experience that I deliver. Because I learned this from my coaches that I had. They gave me a lot of exercises, a lot of homework, a lot of book recommendations, and I felt these are the best coaches in the world. So I learned from them, and now I'm applying this as well. This is just, being a good kind of customer success manager in my business, but it applies to any business going forward. It's all about understanding how can you enrich this. So if somebody said, like, you know what, I'm using your product because I want to save time, then for me that's a trigger point. Like, are there any other opportunities, for example, in the software on the service that could help saving this person some time? That's actually a quite interesting idea that you could spin off with your PM product. So is there anything else, that you can use? You understand, and then you get some ideas. So you bubble up the original personal problem, which is, I want your product to save me time, into a discussion that you can have internally with your product teams. And then you speak with marketing, and this could become potentially a feature that you could use then in ABM initiatives going forward, where you just focus on these new features or on these features in particular, and you propose a different product in the future that helps to stand across and against your competitors. You understand the chain reaction, and it all started because of you. It all started because you came in with this empathy and you understand what it meant for the other person to reduce time.
I just have so many questions, Thomas. Oh my God. It's so interesting, and also the way how you make it sound so simple, right? I know it's I noticed that there's so many episodes where we have recorded and talked so many topics, and it's just impossible for me as a customer success manager to apply all of them because everything is different, and sometimes we all have different internal challenges as well. But I love how you framed this, and I think that the small steps starts with the wow moment, going back to the advocacy value.
Yeah. It's the first principle thing.
Yeah. If we move to the expanding revenue, what is that about?
So, yeah, often this is why did I get my head around expansion in particular? Often, and this is a leadership problem, we come to our teams and say, like, as leaders, okay, we've got an NR of 120, 130%. We need to hit things. And that's the expectation. So often we see companies who look at metrics and they want expansion, but they never know how to get there. This is why you need to follow along and do the A right and the C right. The expansion is great because, in particular for customer success managers, to have a framework in place and an element in place that helps them to really focus on in this part of expanding. And I've written some PDFs for everything for these three pillars as well. You can go on my website and we'll find this. I'm talking in particular about working with sales. So we can learn a lot about how you expand opportunities from our peers in sales. That's the first approach. I really encourage everyone in customer success or post-sales to have a peer in acquisition or in sales, because that way it's a great one. I love to think about, the entire go-to-market function really as a system where you have the acquisition part as well as the post-sales and, of course, marketing. But they need to kind of influence themselves. They need to just permanently just work together. So that's the first one. And as you know, sales has their systems and also their frameworks, like SPICE and MEDIC. So learning from them is quite important, in particular when it comes to CS qualified leads, for example, for expansion. And often, it's very simple in sales when it comes to comms. You just bring in the extra dollars, you get your commission, and it's all down to what you put in Salesforce. Often we are not really measured in terms of bringing in the extra money, the expansion money appropriately. So I really like to think about having something like customer success identified opportunities. So that way, you see that the original opportunity has its origin in the post-sales area and not in the sales area. And the CS folks really need to get credit for this, for example. And that can all be modeled in a CRM system. It's also quite important when we talk about expansion, to just, have a mindset, a growth mindset. And this is this discussion that we have at the moment where some folks say, we don't want to sell. It's greedy and it's what we don't want. Now look back what we discussed with A and C. We actually want to find out what is the value that the other person gets through our service. We want to create a win-win situation. So going the next step and expanding this relationship is a natural thing because it's based on what folks want. It's looking at this demand and supply tension, So as you know, you create a tension, so you create something with your client because you offer a product and you in customer success are the bridge basically between the features and the value. And you do this very quickly. And then suddenly you see like, oh, that's great. And now the customer wants a little bit more and sees like what we discussed. Oh, is there any other feature that helps me to get to a quicker solution or to make more money? And then this other lever of kind of pull and push comes in. And you see there's more tension on this kind of bridge. So your next step naturally would be to think any other opportunities in expansion. Whatever this is, mostly it's another feature or it could be another service that you want to offer or whatsoever. So what I want to say with this, if you really look at the post-sales process, it's very similar actually, like the acquisition when it comes to having this tension between supply and demand. And if you keep it up, it's just maybe a different way of communicating this. The post-sales is more a marathon. You're dealing with one person, you're taking care of that, but it's still identifying signals. It's still nurturing this conversation. It's still making sure you have this kind of tension between demand and supply and just continue doing this. And as I said, this is why it's so important to just have this mindset and think about this differently in customer success. And this is why I created a separate pillar just based on expansion revenue.
No, because the momentum has been cooking from the start. Like like you said, it's a natural outcome of the activating value of the cultivated relationship, which at the end they will see the value of the platform, and it's like, okay, so what is the next step in an ideal world? I think that is super valuable indeed to team up with sales because they have a lot of skills that we can also learn from them and the other way around. So like how to communicate the value in some words, because a lot of times the platforms are used by different personas, like different roles within the company, who there's a different what's in it for them. There's a different outcome. There's a different benefit for each person. It's not the same in my case, the benefit of the platform of a hotel manager versus a revenue manager versus a office manager versus an agent. Like they all have different benefits they're receiving. So I'm learning, trying to understand from sales, like how is that you showed that that has a word, value proposition to the customer, right? So I think that that's indeed really, really helpful. But it's sometimes challenging when we have the customer so excited on the call and we have built that tension, but we don't close the deal. So then everything cools down because then we have to do email intro. And although the sales agent jumps right away into it, that means setting up another call. That means going through the process again. Have you seen that before?
Yes, of course I've done. I mean, I'm at the moment. I do have a client, and they basically they start building out post sets because what happened was is it's just at the beginning they just looked at acquisition net new logos, then the client signed, and then they just more or less forgot about the client. From this to what is the best way of making sure that there's a smooth transition? And that could be a piece of art to think about the customer journey. And it actually not starts at the handoff. It starts at the very beginning. It starts when it's marketing or discovering, the client and seeing that there could be a potential fit. And with marketing, bringing it together, and then with sales coming in, and then the handover, then the post sales, then becoming a loyal customer, and then potentially becoming an employee. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, what's the end bit, of this relationship. It's fascinating, and you're absolutely right. It's a piece of art to just make sure it's smooth, and often we I don't know, we don't look at this in the way, and I feel it's quite obvious. I feel it's, as I said, if you apply first principle thinking, look at yourself, what makes you happy, what gives you a buzz, what makes you disappointed from your own behavior when you experience things as a client. Just flip the side in your brain and just put yourself into these shoes on the other side and just act on that. And this is how I then started to operate and build the framework and hopefully made it sound easy or obvious, but hopefully also applicable to folks. And maybe it's just a reminder of how we should all just behave between humans.
Boom. Thomas, I think that it's just so specific on each case because what I have tried to apply is that actually I can learn from the prices and be comfortable on having this conversation, but I will not be closing the deal. But at least I will have them almost like ready enough to answer all the questions that before they talk to the sales counterpart, they will at least go back and do all the finding and all the approvals that they need to come back and also give a yes before having the conversation. Now, I don't know if that's dangerous because that can also open a little bit more of space for other questions. But I think that could be a way of actually learning any potential question that you can answer and leave it as easy, like you said, as easy and clear as possible.
I think so. Yeah.
Thomas, time is up.
Thank you very much for having me, Baron. It was so fun. I hope it made all sense, and I hope it was valuable for your own work at Oki.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope that your listeners and watchers and viewers are taking some stuff away. And if not, you know where to find me on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you are a person that we can talk about a lot of stuff. So that's why I don't want to yet close it. We have a couple of minutes, but I did it on purpose just to have everyone saying, "Oh, I hope that I caused that." We're not going to talk anymore about framework. This is a personal, different type of questions. Like I said, I think that with you, we can talk a lot of different aspects of. And first, I want to hear your perspective about using the I versus the we.
As a customer success manager, when you speak to clients,
Yes. Now,
can
I
you explain this a little bit
yeah.
and give me
So
some context?
I
Yeah.
have been lately thinking about this a bit. And now I'm not using much of we unless there is literally someone in the room who participated on this, or it's a big webinar, or it's something that is showing that there was people behind. But I'm trying to use more of the I in an email because I feel that it creates the cultivating the relationship part.
Yes,
That is
totally.
me who is here as a human being, as an individual, want to help you. I
Yes.
think the we is too broad as a
But,
brand.
so here's my take. I think I would use both.
Okay.
So if you think about, here is what we as a company have created. This is our mission. This is how we want to help our customers. I think it's appropriate to say we because you're not the customer. Saying I here wouldn't work. If you, however, say like, I, as your customer success manager, will help you to achieve this, then you almost kind of promise or give the guarantee that you personally stand for or stand in for your words. And I completely agree with you. That has far more weight when you use the I instead of the we. It depends. So yeah.
Now it's time to close the episode. Any last words? Any advice? Any last words again? Like, what's one small action we can take this week from what we have discussed? The smallest but most impactful tip that you will give so we can start being impactful as customer success managers.
When you have meetings with your clients, I want you to at least have to at least see your client's face smiling once in this conversation. I want you to make your customer smile. I want you to just create this relaxed moment with them because world is difficult and often we are just honed into the nitty gritty things of conversations about the product and services and updates and financials. Let's have a smile. Let's have a joke. Let's just be human. And I think if you do that, that changes everything for both of you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for bringing all your insights, your time, your human and genuine side of things as well. And like you said, everyone knows where to find you. All your LinkedIn will be here. Your website will be also here. And yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, remember, keep growing, keep learning, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.